Hi, everybody. Sorry, we didn't get to add the title. How do you add it now? Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Hello. I don't know how to do it. Okay, now what? Oh, yeah, you come on this side. You got to read that. I can't see anything. This is why Jess has to do it. You got to find the...
Yep,
There it is. There it is. What do I do?
New add.
No, that's moderator.
You're supposed to
Hi, everyone. Sorry. Do you not know
just stay joined.
Buddy, we are gonna have a great conversation. I think we're adding keep. Oh, there we are. Hi, Margo.
Hello, compañera, ¿cómo estamos?
Muy bien, ¿cómo estás?
Pues requete bien, es un gran honor estar contigo.
I'm so happy to have this conversation. It's so needed.
Qué
I know there's a lot of people joining, and I just felt like we needed a conversation about what's happening with our community. And I feel like this topic affects so many people's lives, and there's so much misinformation out in the world. And I said, I really want to do a conversation with an immigration lawyer, with somebody who actually knows the law. And this Zoom, I mean, this conversation, I want to tell everybody now, like, keep your negative comments out, because the whole purpose of this is to get information out about what is happening in our country, and to hopefully instill some compassion to the people that we're talking about human beings with lives and families, and people who contribute to this country in beautiful, beautiful ways. So I want to thank you, Margo, for agreeing to have this conversation with me. For everybody who doesn't know, Margo is with Keep Tucson Together. Do you want to tell them a little bit about what y'all do?
Sure, Keep Tucson Together is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we've been around a bit better than 20 years. And we all of the work that we do for the undocumented community is free. And we, a lot of lawyers volunteer with us, other volunteers from all walks of life. We did about 7,000 DACAs, and about half of those young people have now become lawful permanent residents and U.S. citizens. Over the years, we do all sorts of family unification, regularized status for wives and husbands, U.S. citizen children that petition for parents. We also created 4,000 new U.S. citizens of lawful permanent residents who needed help getting ready with the test and that kind of stuff. So that's who we are. We're based in community to serve community, to take the fear out of the whole discussion about status.
And you know what? This is what I want to talk about. This is why I was like, please, no negative comments. We are here in community to have a conversation. And I want to make very clear, there is no one in our community, Mexican or Mexican American, that want criminals here. I'm not talking about murderers, rapists, drug traffickers, sex traffickers, human traffickers. Those people should be gone. I 100% want to get rid of any criminal, documented or undocumented, American or un-American, in my community, right? We don't want any criminals, any violent rapists, none of those people belong in our society. And I want to be clear about that, right? Because I feel like some people go, you're letting, all these, criminal people, you're defending criminals. I am not defending any criminals. And so I want to be clear about that. If you are a violent criminal, this is not who I want to have compassion for today. I want to have compassion for the millions of immigrants who come here seeking a better life, who contribute to society, who pay taxes, who are faith going, church going people who are trying to, who are the hardest working people that you will ever meet. And I want you to clarify why just being undocumented is not a criminal offense. And I feel like this is the main misinformation that's out on the internet right now is all of these immigrants are criminals. And that's not who we're talking about today. What is the difference between a criminal and this civil offense, which is existing in a country without papers?
Yeah, it's an administrative violation. It's not a crime. And many times people have ways to regularize their status, but they're too poor to hire a lawyer because they work hard 7 days a week, and that's what they need to sustain their family and mail some money home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard for people in communities where there are not social service agencies that will do this work for free.
Mm-hmm.
But being simply out of status is just an administrative issue. It's not a criminal issue.
Right.
And what we find in the clinic is 9 out of 10 people have some kind of relief. They
Mm-hmm.
just never had the money to sit with a lawyer and have their situation looked at
Mm-hmm.
and prepare the proper documents and applications and get those filed.
Yeah. And can you explain also, here's another false myth is why can't immigrants just get in line like everybody else? Get in line, do it legally. Can you really explain this process? There is no line. Our immigration system has been broken for many administrations, many administrations. This is not a Trump thing, Obama thing. This is not a Biden. It's been on the top of the agendas of every administration for decades, right? Because it's broken. And there are industries completely dependent on immigrant labor. And so explain what it means when people go, get in the back of the line. What line?
Yeah, well, there's several categories in which people can apply to regularize their status, but you really have to have a place like Keep Tucson Together or, a church project, because if you're too poor to hire a lawyer, and most people are, then you don't know what relief you have. And it's not a question of get in line. It's a question of being in a situation where someone can talk to you in private and ask you questions about your family and when you came and who's who, and identify what kind of relief is available for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not very complicated. It's just that there are not enough resources in our communities to help folks. And so most people remain in status without documents,
Mm-hmm.
but they carry the economy on their back. Their kids are U.S. citizens. They volunteer in their community. They go to the Little League games. They go to the PTA.
Yeah.
They do the same thing all of us do,
Mm-hmm.
but they
Yeah.
don't have enough
But
money
also,
to regularize their
here's the thing that
status.
I think a lot of people don't understand, and they're going to understand really quickly. When you're talking about inflation, and especially in the United States, the industries that are completely dependent upon immigrant labor, farm workers, agriculture, construction workers, restaurant workers, right? Services, gardening, landscaping, gardening, housekeeping, nannies. These are overwhelmingly jobs that are held by immigrants. And they pay into our taxes. They pay sales tax, gas tax. They pay into Social Security, and they're never allowed to withdraw from those programs. When you talk about, when people talk about the fact that my eggs are expensive, well, your avocado toast is about to be very expensive, right?
That's
Because
right. That's right.
farms are going fallow, right? Your tequila is about to get very expensive, because there's not going to be limes and lemons and mint and things. If your cocktail costs $12 right now, a cocktail at a restaurant's gonna cost triple. Here's the other thing: is that immigrants lead to the profitability of these industries because they are such low wage jobs. such low wage jobs. And let me tell you, if they don't get a paycheck, the abuses that happen in these industries, if Jose doesn't get a paycheck, he has nowhere to complain to. There's no respite for him to go to a labor board and say, hey, I worked 40 hours or I worked, 10 fields, or there's no place for them to complain. So they're
That's right.
often they're
That's right.
often abused. Talk about the economic effect of these industries and how it'll affect all Americans.
Well, people without papers carry our economy on their backs.
Mhm.
And you mentioned several of the areas of our economy, but they're in almost every place you could imagine.
Mhm.
They work in hospitals, they work in
Yes.
schools, yes, they work in restaurants, but they take jobs that Americans, quite frankly, would not take. And they are paid substandard wages, and they're pleased to do that, although it's totally inequity and inequitable.
Hmm.
But they're pleased to do that because their U.S. citizen children are in school and will thrive,
Hmm.
and they're making a better life for their kids, and that's what's really
Yeah.
important. One of our clients, her two boys, and she is completely without document. Her a daughter and son. One of them is a lawyer, and one of them is a doctor.
Mm.
And her American dream has come true, and they're both U.S. citizens. And so we see incredible contributions in every aspect of our life, culturally,
Yeah.
um, economically,
Hmm.
in volunteering in the Little League, and the schools, the PTA, just every facet of our life. And to have these folks demonized as criminals rather than the people that are contributing, making serious contributions
Yeah.
to our lives in the United States, really, really is abhorrent.
Right. And so, what are you seeing right now as you guys are on the ground and you're a, grassroots organization? Um, what is the, I guess, a typical client of yours that would come to you? What is happening in your org right now that this mass deportation plan has been initiated? Are you guys overwhelmed? Were you equipped for this moment?
Well, we are overwhelmed, but we are of uh, the commitment that we're here for anybody who can't afford to hire counsel to represent them or to try and prepare an application for them that will take them out of jeopardy, to advise them, to counsel them. We've had a campaign lately to post at businesses with big yellow signs that say, "Do not enter without a lawful search warrant."
Mm-hmm.
Because again, remember, this is an administrative proceeding. This is not a criminal proceeding.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just can't bust into, the neighborhood cleaners and say, I'm going to go ask everybody for their documents. There's a procedure for that. And, the Border Patrol doesn't go through the procedure. ICE doesn't go through the procedure because they likely could not get an order
Mm-hmm.
that would permit them to go into businesses.
Right.
We also post homes, and in the prior Trump administration, there were 16 times that ICE came to our homes of families that had their homes posted, and in all 16 times they had to leave, and they couldn't bust down the door and take people out.
Yeah.
And so it really is important that communities come together to stand with our undocumented families, our brothers and sisters and their children.
Yeah.
I mean, they make our communities a better place. They have a huge contribution, and we have to remember this is not a criminal
Right.
situation. This is an administrative violation. It's like as if we had to apply for Social Security,
Mm-hmm.
or if when you reach the right age, you just decided you weren't going to apply, that then you'd be
Yeah.
grabbed and charged with something. It's analogous to any other kind of administrative proceeding,
Right.
and it has been criminalized, and it has also is just filled with race hate.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
uh,
it definitely, it's targeting, the Mexican American community as well, because there's so
Right.
many. I'm Mexican American. I'm ninth generation American. I know we're not teaching all the history anymore in a lot of the schools, but we didn't cross the border. The border crossed us in a moment, and I feel like uh, in this initiative right now, a lot of people are being caught up and rounded up on the basis of the color of being brown, right? And that's the scary, the Puerto Rican family that was held in Chicago because they were speaking Spanish. Like a lot of innocent Americans are being caught up in this mass deportation plan right now, aside from, undocumented immigrants. And so what do you think needs to happen right now?
Well, let me just say this, that you brought up a really important point. There's something called in the world of U.S. citizenship by derivation. And you said you were ninth generation. A lot of folks' parents were U.S. citizens and were born in Arizona. And it could be grandparents. It could be great grandparents. It could have been when Arizona was a territory.
Right.
And so it's important not just to, okay, I'm going to fill out this form, and maybe your adult child over the age of 21 will immigrate you.
Mm-hmm.
They may very well be derivative
Mm-hmm.
citizens. And that kind of information, that depth of information that is required to be shared with community, not sold for a dollar price, but shared with community so that people who have been mistreated, discriminated against all of their lives, those people their situation can be really looked at and by someone a professional who knows all of the various pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And we see many derivative citizens, people that were treated as being without papers their entire lives,
Mm-hmm.
people that felt like they had to hide out or couldn't do all the things they wanted to do in their community. And they are just as much U.S.
Yeah.
citizens as you and I.
Yeah. And I want everybody to know again, like I wanted to do this conversation because I want people to see the humanity in these immigrant communities of people who are not criminals. They're not, they have not committed a crime. This is a civil offense. And again, if you're talking about rapists, murders, sex traffickers, human traffickers, absolutely. Get out of this country. Nobody wants those people in their community. That's not who I'm talking about. That's not who we're talking about. We're talking about farm workers. We're talking about restaurant workers. We're talking about construction workers, landscapers, gardeners, nannies, people who are raising your kids, people who are cleaning your houses. These are hardworking people who have come here with a dream for a better life. And I want to revisit, there's a great book by Chomsky called They Take Our Jobs, and it's really about
Mhm.
debunking that idea that these are jobs that Americans want. And so I feel like what's going to happen, is this economic structure of these industries that are dependent on immigrant labor. Um, there's going to be a cost to that, like a monetary cost of not having these people in these industries. All of these immigrants, they're not showing up in the fields. They're not showing up to their jobs because they're scared of these ICE raids. And the cost structure of these industries are going to change. And guess who's going to get that cost, right? Guess where that cost gets put onto? You, the American people. And so I just want people to know, you're going to absorb that. We're going to absorb that hit. And from a humanitarian standpoint, family separation, let's talk about that. What happens if a child's at school and both their parents are picked up by ICE and detained? What happens to that 8-year-old after school? What are you seeing?
The 8-year-old who's a U.S. citizen.
Right,
That's right.
right.
And those families live in constant fear. And it's just not right. We have to understand, I think, that this moment that we're in is to create a subclass that is terrorized, that can be exploited. And it really, and I hate to say it, but it's really based on race hate,
Yeah.
Because who are the victims here? They're the people that are building our country in every aspect, in every um, uh, piece of the economy. They carry our economy on their backs, and we should acknowledge that contribution, rather than um, make them live in constant fear of being found out, and fear that they would be separated from their U.S. citizen kids, rather than treated with the decency that they deserve because of their contribution to make our country a better place. And we hide that. We ignore that. That's the reality. I mean, that's the real deal. That's not like a pitch or something. That's what's happening. And we really have to stand up to that, and hold up the contribution that these folks make to our country.
Yeah. There's so many great people speaking on this issue that I've been following. There's an attorney, Martinez. You guys should follow her. She is also another attorney. I think she's out of Texas. Um, there's another one, Delarue. I just posted her, so if you want to see, her explain as well, like get the information from wherever you can. I want to ask you one last question before we have to go. And again, we are doing this because we want people to have compassion for
Yes.
human beings and immigrants that are, wrongly being demonized. And as a Mexican American, this is my community, and I care deeply about uh, how they're being treated, and what is happening to the families. And so it makes me really sad to see our community demonized as a whole. Like as a whole, we're just going to be lumped in with the criminals as opposed to these hardworking people who come to this country to earn a living and work, and that's who I'm talking about. That's who I want to fight for, right? These hardworking immigrants that contribute to our economy and our society. What problem do you see with the system? What do you bump up against? Because again, when people go stand in the back of the line, why don't you just do it legally? Can you talk about that? That is easier said than done. There is no line, or there is, I think there's lack of judges, there's lack of appointments, there's lack of, the backlog of processing these people is so long. Like, what are the main problems you're seeing as you navigate the system for these immigrants?
Well, one thing that we're seeing right now that's just horrific is that the current administration has eliminated the application of asylum.
Right.
And, our country's history is based on people fleeing oppression to join us. And we are the multicultural country that we are. That's who we are. And so there are just horrific stories that are coming through our doors that we no longer can file a simple application, either straightforward to Homeland Security or before an immigration judge. And that's just horrific. I mean, terrible things are happening to people, to young women, to boys. And for me, it's always about how would I like my kids treated? Because these are not them and us. These are us. And what you do to them, you do to me, and you do to us. And that's what we're seeing. And so these restrictions, these making it impossible for people to do it the right way and to come and contribute to our country, but also to be protected. And with the folks that are here, it hasn't really grabbed on yet, but it will, is that the folks that are in removal proceedings, I'm sure that the requirements will change dramatically. I'm sure that their applications for relief will begin to be denied. And sure, people can appeal, and we do that here at our clinic, but there aren't clinics like Keep Tucson Together in every town. And we certainly can't represent the thousands of people that are about to be harmed in such a profound way. And what we're talking about is tearing families apart. Now, that's not an American value.
No.
And we have to look it in the face. We have to understand what it is, and we have to stand up to it.
Yeah. I mean, that is so true. You know, tearing families apart as a country built on immigrants is so un-American to me. And it really breaks my heart to see, you know, this ripple effect of abuse and fear and really just having this conversation and heightened anxiety and all of it that's happening to our community. And so I thank you for the work that you do. I wanted to do this in English. I'm going to be doing some more, just so you guys know. I'll be doing some other ones with other lawyers and other conversations. I just felt like hoy yo quería hablar con los americanos, yo quería platicar con ellos porque yo creo que hay gente que necesita escuchar esta información como de un abogado, pero también yo creo que nuestra comunidad está viviendo con miedo, viviendo con tanto anxiety. And so for me, yo quería hacer esta práctica para ayudar a la gente que no está en nuestra comunidad, para entender qué está pasando con nuestros compañeros.
Es un horror tremendo.
But thank you so much. And again, thank you for everybody for listening. I'm going to repost this. Again, I'm going to be doing some other platicas with some other organizations. And I just want to say thank you for the work you're doing in Tucson. I really hope that humanity shines through in this moment for human beings, for human beings who are really being affected in a big way with this issue. And I'm so grateful that you were able to have time to have this conversation. And thank you to everybody who's listening and who stayed positive in the comments. This is for you guys. I'm coming from a place of love, and I'm coming from a place of concern. And I really hope that you guys got something from this. And again, we'll be having more conversations. And Keep Tucson Together. I'm gonna. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, so you can donate to the work that Margo's doing. And I'm gonna post the link down below when I repost this, so you can know where to donate. Anything else you wanna add, Margo?
It's really important what you just said. It's really important. Someone of your stature is raising up the voice of what's going on in our community, because I just don't believe that this is what Americans believe. I believe that this is a small group of racists, and I thank you so much. Mil gracias, compañera, y adelante.
Adelante. Muchas gracias, Margo. Thank you, everybody.